welcome along Jules from Further Faster.
Hello, Senka.
I'm so excited to get to have this conversation with you, Jules. The funny thing is, of course, that you live in Christchurch. I live now in Christchurch, but I'm currently in Kinloch while we do this, so it's really funny. And not just because of the fact that we live near each other, but also the fact that I would probably say you're like one of my adventure besties, and you made the move to Christchurch so cool. So I'm so excited that we get to have this interview together.
Yeah, but you're too far away. Who am I adventuring with this weekend?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. And there was snow there in Christchurch and I missed it, and I've been hanging out, and Jules is like, it's snowing, and I'm like, I'm not in Christchurch. So, gutted. But I'm just really excited because like I sort of said at the start there, like Jules made my move to Christchurch like so super easy. I was really lucky to meet Jules on an event of a mutual friend. I met her like once, instantly was like, this chick is so rad. And then we sort of connected as you do on Facebook. And then I did a couple of trips to Christchurch. And then one of those trips ended up being so I just got dumped, but can I come and stay at your house? And I would say ever since then, I have just been totally stoked to call you my friend, Jules.
Oh, back at ya.
So I'm excited to talk about all the stuff that you do, because not only do you adventure, like we go out and adventure as much as we possibly can between life and work and all of that sort of stuff, but you're also heavily involved in the actual industry from a gears perspective as well. So it's super cool. So Jules is one of the co-owners of Further Faster in Christchurch. If you see my stuff, you see me always talking about it because their gear is the tits and they're an independent store, which I love. So I love the fact that I get to help support an independent company, just like, you know, I've got a small business. It's just freaking rad, and the gear that they sell is cool too, and it's great for dogs. So for those people that are watching this and they don't know you, what would be, how would you introduce yourself, and what's your earliest memory of adventuring?
Oh, well, firstly, I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Jules. And yeah, I'm one of the co-owners of Further Faster, an outdoor store in Christchurch. And I guess that's where we're at now, but that has been a really long progression to get there. And I guess I first decided that I wanted my own adventure store probably back when I first started getting into adventures and was going to get gear myself. So my earliest childhood memories of adventuring would be with my parents, climbing mountains. My dad was into outdoor rec, so that was a good starting point. And we also grew up on a farm. So there was lots of adventures to be had there.
Now, you might be able to hear in Jules's accent that she's not a Kiwi.
No.
So whereabouts are you from?
I'm from rural Western Australia, which is known for being quite flat, but where I live there actually are some mountains, some very ancient mountains, some of the most oldest mountain ranges in the entire world. So they're not as big as they used to be, but gosh, they are pretty special.
That's awesome. So you got into it through hanging out with your dad, going out and doing stuff. What were some of the cool things that you guys used to do as kids that you think has like really shaped the adventuring that you do now?
Oh, well, that's really interesting because the number one thing that we used to do would be going fishing, and we would go beach fishing. So like really wild, remote beaches, long 4-wheel drives to get there. And me and my sister would be, stuck at these beaches, just pretty much hating it because all our friends were back home at dance classes or playing netball, and that's what we wanted to do with our friends, but we were stuck in these wild remote places, like hanging out on the beach, just having to make our own fun with sandcastles and you know, the rock pools and whatnot. So there was, you know, when back then we had a lot of fun, but there was always part of me which probably kind of resented it because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, which I think is like all kids have to do that at some point. but going forward, it really has shaped who I am and what I do and what I want to do, because I have no interest in social netball and whatnot, or dance classes. Oh no, to lie, I do like dancing. But on the weekends, that's where I want to be. I want to be out in the wild, somewhere remote, just enjoying what Mother Nature's given us.
Oh, I love it. Oh, every time you talk about that stuff, it just makes my heart sing with so much happiness. What is it that you think pulls you towards going outdoor to nature instead of going to a pub? And it's not that we don't go to pubs and have a few drinks, but it's certainly the draw of nature and the pull of that. What is it that pulls you towards it, that makes you go, instead of going shopping in a mall, I'm going to go get into the snow or climb a peak or something like that?
Well, I guess it just comes down to how it makes me feel. Yeah, going to a mall, you kind of go shopping, get a little buzz, but also it's all the bright lights and all the people, it can be quite anxiety provoking. Whereas, making the choice to get out in nature, it just makes you feel the exact opposite. You come back refreshed and alive and feeling good. Even when you first went out, might be feeling really shit and quite angry or pissed off about the world, but you always come back feeling better. And I have to remind myself that sometimes when you don't want to go out, be like, actually, in half an hour, I'm going to be feeling much better.
Yeah, totally. And that's really interesting, because I was, through these interviews and stuff, we've had a number of conversations about the fact that the times that you want to go out the least, like, we've got you've got the Further Faster Women of Further Faster Run group on a Tuesday night. And it's like, there's times where it's like, I really just don't want to go out. And then the result of actually going, like, I don't know, happiness just quadruples or something like that.
Yeah. Always feel good at the end.
Yeah. What do you notice for yourself when you do stuff like that, where you're like, oh, I really don't want to go, it's raining or whatever, and then you go, and then how does that change you?
I'm a nicer person, I think. Let's be honest. We all got a bit of a grumpy side, right? Yeah, but somehow that grumpy side of me kind of gets left in the woods, So don't go into the woods at night, people, because there's a lot of grumpy Jules out there. Just jokes.
Oh, it's so true though. Like, Mother Nature, she's vast, she's grounded, she's ever changing and all of that sort of stuff. And I feel like she has the capacity to be able to take that stuff off us. We have, whether it's forest or mountain or anything like that, there is just that natural space of being able to go out there and just let your brain go and clear out and all that kind of stuff. So 100% agree.
Yeah.
So how did you end up from Western rural Australia to the fine land of Aotearoa?
Oh, mate. Well, that was a very quick and easy decision when I was very young. I was 10 years old and my parents had to come over here for a work trip, and me and my sister got dragged along. We were not kicking and screaming on that. We were very excited to come, and I was 10 years old, and we're driving down in a coach tour, and all of a sudden the windscreen was covered in white, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's snow. I'd never seen snow. I was so excited. I got the bus driver to stop the bus so we could get out. Turns out someone had thrown a milkshake on the windscreen and there was no snow at all. So I was quite disappointed there for a few days. But anyway, continued on the journey, and we went to Aotearoa and all through Canterbury, through the high country. And that was it. I just decided then and there, this is the place I'm going to call home. And then go forward many, many years. I've called many beautiful places home over the years in the mountains. I've been really lucky. I've lived in Alaska, Colorado, the northern England, and even the Australian high country, which is really special. Not many people know about the wombats in the snow, but that's pretty cool. But the whole time the journey has really to come here and settle here, and finally we got round to it.
Yeah, so you say we. Tell us more about the wee situation.
Oh, yeah. Rocky, my husband, he's a good fella. He's a good egg. Hey.
He's a keeper.
He's a keeper. Yeah, he came onto the scene when I was quite young and traveling around and exploring the world. And, yeah, he liked me. I was like, yeah, cool. Well, I'm not hanging around, mate, because I got places to be and mountains to climb. And he's like, cool, I'll come along for the ride. I was like, sure. And it was been like 18 years now. Yeah. Still on that journey together.
Oh, that's so great. And what a good egg he is. So
yeah.
And so you guys obviously adventure together, or what's the deal with how you guys go on adventure?
Well, we have actually never had a regular schedule of time off together. So our adventures are either when we go on holiday and we plan something quite big, or mostly day trips around town, or just not far away, because of our lifestyles and different work commitments and stuff. We've always kind of had different days off for the past 18 years, and I don't know, maybe that's worked actually really well for our relationship, because we live together obviously, and we work together now, and in the past we have worked together on and off. But because of having different work commitments and having different days off, we've always kind of had to be quite independent in our adventures as well, doing things solo or going off with other people. So we're not in each other's pockets all the time. And we also have great stories that we can come back and share with each other. It's not just the same story, like we have different stories. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So speaking of cool stories then, what is one that springs to mind that you would be like, this is a story when everyone, like sitting around the campfire, having a yarn about all our adventures and stuff, this is the one go-to story, you're like, everyone's telling their best story, and you're like, I have got a story for you. What would be one of those really awesome adventure stories that springs to mind?
Oh, look, there is a lot. There is one that springs to mind, but it's because it was really scary. It was really scary when we were out trail running once in the hills outside of Perth in Western Australia. It was a hot summer's day, and we were training for a race, and Rocky was running ahead of us, and I was with a girlfriend, and I don't know why we were running behind, because at the time I don't think Rocky was faster runner than me. I don't know, but he was a little bit ahead of us, and he turned around and he came back, and he was just like, he couldn't breathe, he couldn't get his words out, and he was just like, turn around, you can't stay here, quick, turn around. And me and my girlfriend were like, what are you talking about? He's like, you gotta go, this guy's with guns. And we were just like, oh yeah, right, whatever. But then we realized, we're looking at him, and like, he was literally probably going to shit his pants. He was proper scared, and I'd never seen him like that before, so I obviously got really scared and turned around and ran. And there was a cliff, and it was probably only about a 3-meter jump, but we didn't really have an option. Just ran and nailed this cliff, jumped off. I did roll my ankle, but it didn't matter. I just kept running until we got somewhere where there was like clear space and people. I don't know, about 1 kilometer. It was probably less than that. Anyway, called the police, and they sent out the full shebang, like helicopters, police cars. I can't remember what the names of these people are, but the ones all dressed in black with guns, the tactical squad. They came out with their maps, and we had to show them where we saw these people with these guns, because there was 3 of them, apparently, Rocky said. And oh man, it was really, really scary. Anyways, we went home, and we just couldn't relax because the helicopters were still going across the sky. And so we decided, like, all people do, go back to the scene of the crime. So we went back to the trailhead just to see what was going on, because we didn't have any answers, It had been really, our cortisol levels have been so high. We get back to the trailhead, and the police are there, and they're walking these 3 people out, and they had guns. Anyway, and all dressed in black, or in camo, balaclavas, the whole lot. And we're just like, what? Holy shit! Like, what the hell is going on? And the police officer saw us, and they came off over and talk to us. And it turns out it was 3 school kids filming a movie. Yeah. They were in a lot of trouble. So they had replica weapons, and they were using it and they were filming some sort of I don't know. They were filming something really bad anyways. They were filming something really bad, and it was really scary. But anyways, we have a good laugh after that.
Oh my God, that's such a good story. I was like, you had me on the edge of my seat. I'm like, waiting.
Yeah,
What's the cliffhanger?
Yeah,
Oh,
so I've got lots
it.
of other stories about, bears in the woods and, the Northern Lights and, going on solo ski trips and all sorts of stuff. But for some reason, that particular story, I think because I lived that fear, and then it had a really funny ending, is a good story. I'm glad it had a funny ending, because unfortunately that sort of stuff is too real for too many people. And not many people get to have a funny ending to that. So, but I'm lucky I do.
Yeah. Oh man, and because the one thing, so since moving to Christchurch, Jules has been amazing, because I'll be like, let's go on an adventure, and she goes, let's go do this thing, and I'll be like, sure. So I always say yes before I don't even research it, because I'm just like, fully trust Jules. She knows the level of adventure that I like to do and stuff like that. So I'm always like, whenever Jules says, let's go do something, I'm like, yes. But one of those things that sticks in my mind for an adventure that you and I have done was Avalanche Peak.
Oh yeah, that's a goodie, isn't it?
Yeah. So if anyone's watching this and they've either done Avalanche Peak, you'll fully understand what we're...
Especially if you're just a little bit out of condition.
Yeah. And for anyone who wants a really good, challenging adventure, stick this one on your Adventure Girls must-do list. So I said, yes, of course, Jules. And then I looked it up and I sent her a screenshot with the elevation, and I was like, WTF. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, have you seen the elevation on this? And it was like, I was like shitting my pants, because I was like, wow, this is crazy. But that was such an incredible adventure. And it really highlighted just how different we all can be when we go out on adventures together, like where people feel comfortable and happy and safe, and where other people don't. And it was like, for us, we both went through like our own challenges of like, oh, I feel really stretched right now, and I just want to have a cry because I'm not kind of coping, but I'm just hanging in there to, the other person. And then the support that comes through from going with great girlfriends who totally get you, as opposed to, and this is a very general statement, you go sometimes with the boyfriends or the dudes, and they're just like, just get over it and let's get going. But it's one of the things I love about adventuring with women. Like, there is a difference, and it's not to say, again, all men are like that and all women are like that, but for the most part, whenever my experiences are and I go adventuring with women and we feel challenged and scared, there's a different feeling, a different level of support. So what do you notice for yourself that's different about going adventuring with women than it is going and either adventuring with groups of dudes?
Yeah, well, for the first, obviously once I left home and I started going on lots of adventures by myself or with other people, generally it was always with men. That was it, because it was a lot of backcountry skiing and backcountry hiking and rock climbing, and it was mostly men. It was hard to find chicks that were really into that back then. A bit different now, which is exciting. So I remember one particular trip I went on with a friend I'd made called Terry. And Terry was really cool, and she was a professional figure skater, and she was also a guide, an outdoor adventure guide. And for every trip I'd been on in, the few years leading up to that, it was always every trip, and I was okay with it, but it was always a struggle because I was always struggling to keep up. And I just thought that was what it was. I thought I had to struggle to keep up. I thought that was what made it fun, was it being really hard, Anyway, so I went on this trip with this girl, Terry, and we were, it was middle of winter, it was in the Rocky Mountains, and we were looking for this trapper's hut in the middle of the woods. And so I get out on the trail and I'm just like going at my regular pace, which is really fast, and my heart's pumping and it's really hurting. And she's just like way behind me. I'm like, what are you doing back there? And I'm like, you're like the professional guide. Shouldn't you be up here? She goes, oh, nah. You go as fast as our slowest person. And I was like, oh, you don't have to go fast. And that was the first time I've been out on a proper adventure with another woman, and the whole dynamic was different and we enjoyed it. It wasn't, it was a different type of enjoyment, you know. We just really, and because of that, I remember those woods so vividly. And that was nearly 20 years ago. You know, I remember the sound of the crunch in the snow and the light glistening through. And I think if I'd been with the fellas, just powering on, charging, just trying to catch my breath till we got to the hut, I probably wouldn't remember all that stuff.
That's such a nice way to explain it, because I think, you know, there's a time to go and, like, sometimes you want to go out and smash it, right? And whether that's with the dudes or even, you know, sometimes going out with girls, it's like, let's go just smash the thing out and get it done and have a great time doing that. But one of the things that I always love about adventuring with you is that there's never any pressure to go and do anything or be anything when we're out on the trails, whether that's riding our bikes together, trail running / jogging / walking and hiking. So yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I absolutely love about it, because it's like when you are losing your shit on a trail, which happens, whether it's like mountain biking or like when we did Avalanche Peak, is you want to feel safe and secure with the people that you're there with. And I don't think sometimes men know what to do when you're kind of at that teary point of stuff. Like for me, it was when we'd reached the peak of Avalanche Peak and we were soaking up all the views, and then we had to do the descent, and the descent was on a really narrow ridge line, super rocky. And if you fell one way off it, it would be, you'd probably break a bone or something. And the other side, you would die. Like, it was just a death drop.
It's a sheer drop off for maybe 100 meters or so.
Yeah, and the elevation on that mountain, I can't even remember, was like 1,200 or 1,300?
I don't know. It's a lot.
Something like that.
More than
anyway.
That.
And I was really mentally struggling with the descent, because going up a ridgeline, for some reason, for me, works. My brain can process that and it doesn't seem so death-defying. But the descent, you know how I was. It was like I was almost crawling on my bum at some of it, and then I actually had to stop, and I had a massive cry because all that nervous energy had really built up, and my mind was just going to the worst case scenario. And I just had to have this big cry, and Jules let me had a she just held a nice space for me. No, like, hurry up, Senka, and get your fucking ass down there. It was just like, cool, we'll just stop here. Had a big cry, had a big regroup, and went, well, the only way to get off this fucking mountain is to carry on. And I was still shitting my pants, but it was really good to feel safe and supported in something like that. So it's one of the things that why I loved going and adventuring with you, because I was like, she had the descent nailed.
Well, the reason I like going with you is because you always say yes, no matter what it is.
Yeah, we are a hell yes team.
Yeah.
So Avalanche Peak, we've done that. What other cool adventures would you, like, for anyone who's watching this, who's like, okay, cool, all right, so Avalanche Peak sounds scary but fucking rad. Are there any, what are like some other cool adventures that you've gone on that you would rate in that like comfort zone stretcher space, where it's like, ooh, I'm going to do that. Ooh, I'm a little scared, but ooh, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Here in New Zealand.
Here in New Zealand.
Yeah, in New Zealand.
Oh, goodness. Well, I guess one thing that I've started doing since I moved to New Zealand, which I hadn't done before, is adventure racing. And that has definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, because it's going kind of back. It's like I've been doing the girls' adventure races, the spring challenge, and soon we're doing Spirited Women, which I'm very excited about. But it's that halfway point between, you know, that kind of gung-ho, like just pushing yourself with the blokes, but also supportive because you're just with the chicks. And yeah, I've done a few of those now, and they have pushed me out of my comfort zone. Yeah, especially because I'm, you know, because you have different disciplines of sport, and everyone's better at different disciplines. And I know cycling is not my strong point, and I always struggle in the cycling. And it doesn't matter how much I've trained on race day when we're doing the bike, I have a cry. And so it really does push, that for me pushes me. But then, like, you know, once we get to the navigation and that, like, you know, I'm in my element, totally loving it. I'm like, come on, girls. So yes, I reckon if you haven't tried it, try an adventure race, definitely. And what else is something that can really push you out of your comfort zone? Canyoning is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I love a bit of canyoning action. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, it's really interesting, like say with the adventure races, because there are the different disciplines and things like that. So, and Jules is a boss navigator, let's just say. we another friend of ours, Steph, and I went, and Jules wasn't available on the day, so we were like, we're going to go do a 6-hour row gain, because we wanted to up our game for our navigation and stuff like that. And far out did we need Jules. Like, it took us an hour to find our first checkpoint, which shouldn't have taken anywhere near that time, but there was so much learning and the not finding of it.
And that's the fun part, right?
Exactly, right? You can't hone your skills.
No, you have to get lost. That's the great thing about it.
Exactly. And the great thing about adventure racing is that it is about being vulnerable in the times that you're not strong, and being able to rely on lean on your teammates for that support, and vice versa. So it just makes for great dynamics. So you've had some stuff that's made mountain biking a bit challenging for you. Do you want to talk a bit about that situation, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I guess I had a serious injury a few years ago, and it's while I was mountain biking, which was really unfortunate. And but unfortunately, yeah, I'm not sure. What would you like to know, Senka?
As much as you would like to share. So, we can not talk about that topic as well. So we can go next.
Well, I guess no, it's all right. So
what happened? And then, because I also know the journey to getting you back on the bike, and that it still challenges you, but you still do it. And for me, I admire that quality, because there's lots of people that were just absolutely saying no to doing it again, given what happened and stuff like that. So yeah. So what was
a few years ago, while we were living in Australia, we were planning on moving to New Zealand in just a few months' time. But I was out biking first thing in the morning. It was a beautiful day. Once again, I was out with the boys. I didn't know a single girl who mountain biked in Perth back then. So, I mean, there were girls, but just not on my time frame with the shift work, because I work as a nurse sometimes. And so I went with the boys, did one lap of this really cool track. It was middle of summer. We went really early because it's so hot. You know, it's 40 degrees by mid-morning. And I just remember it being a really beautiful morning. It was blue skies, a golden light was dappling through the trees, and there was some kangaroos, and remember there was a couple of goannas, which I nearly ran over, but I didn't. Had a few crashes on my bike, but just dusted myself off, got up again. And because I also use my mountain bike for commuting, I had a little wing mirror on the side, real daggy. Anyway, I had one crash and that came off. I was like, damn, so I chucked the wing mirror down my bra and didn't want litter, kept riding. Anyway, we finished that lap and we got to the end, and Mike's like, oh, should we do another lap? And I was like, yeah, let's do another lap. But I said, I'm really tired and hungry and I really want a cup of coffee. So you go smash it. I'm just going to enjoy it and just go for a cruisy ride. He's like, yeah, no worries, see you at the end. So anyways, about a kilometre from the end, and this was on a really non-technical part of the trail. It was just loose pea gravel. I don't know what happened. I kind of skidded out on some really loose gravel, and instead of just like landing on the ground, my bike went into a grass tree, and my handlebars spun around, and as they spun around, they impaled me into my psoas muscle and my femoral nerve, which wasn't that nice. But anyway, I didn't really know what was going on. But long story short, I got a helicopter out and had lots of drugs, lots of lovely nurses and doctors looked after me. And I was really excited to go back to work because I had just started a new job. This is when I was a graduate nurse, but turns out I was paralyzed and I couldn't walk, and people didn't know if I was ever going to walk again. So that kind of put my life on hold for a wee while, but not for very long, to be honest. You know, I made do, you know. I had a hinge brace and I had a great team behind me, and we worked really hard, and I just changed my life to suit my situation. You know, there's no point just, you know, wallowing in it. I might have cried a couple of times because that's only natural. But, you know, I just had to get on with life, you know. So I changed my direction and my focus, and started looking at retraining for a different job that I could do sitting down. I was looking at maybe working in health policy and a few other things. And in the meantime, I really wanted to get a job because, you know, I'd lost my job. There's no such thing as ACC in Australia, so I didn't have any income, and you know, my lovely husband was supporting me, so like, you know, it was okay. And yeah, so I went to my GP and wanted to know why I was so sad. People didn't know I was really sad, but I was really sad. Yeah. I went to my GP and I was like, because I'd lost everything, you know, I'd lost I couldn't ride my bike, I couldn't walk, I couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything. So yeah, went to my GP. She says, oh, you're grieving. I'm like, what are you grieving? No one's died. She goes, but you're grieving because you've lost the use of your leg. I was like, oh, makes sense. Anyway, my GP is really cool, and she gave me a job. So I ended up working at that GP practice. They were very kind and employed a newly graduate nurse who had 0 days experience, who was paralyzed and had to use crutches. And I had lots of lovely patients, and I would run the immunization clinics for the babies, and lots of other things like that. And it was really, really cool.
Isn't that amazing what comes out of like reaching out for help? You know, like as in, I don't know what's going on. And then like how, I'm going to say how quickly life can pivot to bring the things into your life that you need at the time in your life. So, like I said, you know, the fact that you get on your bike when I know that it's something that does stretch you, I feel nothing but inspired being out when we go riding together, because I know it's that you're just, you know, you are challenging yourself, and like that's just in itself a whole you know, there's a whole other chapter of a conversation. But yeah, it's super inspiring.
But I guess we should just point out to people that I did recover, and my paralysis wasn't a paralysis, it was neuropraxia in the end, but they couldn't tell me that without cutting me open and making me 100% paralyzed if I was. So after about a year, I did get recovery, and a couple years after that, I have made a full recovery. So I'm very lucky. I think that just comes down to luck, and there's fortunately a lot of other people with sporting accidents who haven't get the same amount of luck. So
do you think? Yeah, 100. Fuck yes. Can we just give it a bit for that gratitude of like to be able to have all of that? Like, how do you think that shaped like your direction in life? You know, like being able to make a recovery, and then, you know, has it given you a new perspective on life, like a bit more like thirst for it or an appreciation for it?
Well, yeah, when I knew that I had a chance of recovery, in my mind and in my heart, and I don't know if I was being naive or ignorant, I always thought I was going to recover despite what all the specialists said. And I paid a lot of money to see a lot of specialists to keep telling me that no, I was never going to recover. And I didn't take no for an answer. So once I realized I did have a chance of recovery, that my thirst for it was insane. I went and bought myself a $5,000 mountain bike, which I couldn't afford. Remember, I was unemployed for a long period of time until my GP gave me a part-time job. And I would make my husband like practically pick me up and put me on the wind trainer on the bike and then strap me in. and leave me for an hour while I just go hammer and tong to techno music. I fucking hate techno music, but
it works for riding on something like that, doesn't it?
Then he'd unstrap me and help me off. And then when I was able to drive, I'd see girls walking or running, and then they'd stop and they'd huff and puff, and you go through all the emotions, don't you? And so I'd be like jealous, and then I'd be angry at them because like, why are you walking? You've got 2 legs, you should be running. But now, generally day to day, I forget. Like, it's not an issue for me. And sometimes I have to remind myself how lucky I am. Those days when I don't want to go out for whatever reason, or it's raining, or I'm tired, or I've only got a short window of time and it's just going to make everything quite rushed. They're the days where it's really have to remember and just appreciate everything that we've got. Yeah.
Funny that attitude of gratitude when things aren't going great is probably, it can be really challenging to tap into that, because it's kind of, you're like a little bit like, well, let me list all the shit things that are going on.
That's right.
Yeah, but what that does is, of course, that puts your attention on the stuff that's not working, when there's still a bunch of stuff that's really going great in your life and things like that. Yeah. So it's like that attitude of gratitude and just being able to truly tap into one thing a day at least to be grateful for, and like really feel it, can make such a shift in our lives and our mental wellness and how we see ourselves and all that juicy good stuff. So you do quite a bit of solo adventuring, or you've done some in the past, and I know that you've got one coming up that you're planning to do for your birthday.
Oh yeah, very excited. I'm quite nervous and a little bit scared too, because I do like to go on solo adventures, but it's been quite a while since I've gone off and done a big solo adventure. You know, when I was 18, I packed my bags and I moved to Alaska by myself, and then I hitchhiked all around Alaska, and I went backcountry and hiking, and I did it all on my own, and it was wild and it was fun, and I have some, good stories and lots of amazing memories, and at times it was really scary, and there's definitely things I would never repeat, being a bit older and wiser. But coming up for my birthday, 40th, I'm embracing it, and planning, fingers crossed, all works out with the time frames and that, to hike the length of Canterbury on the Aotearoa.
Yes, girl, that's so exciting. And we just recently went out to an area that was touched on that, didn't it?
Oh my goodness, that made me very exciting. Very excited. It's so beautiful. Yeah, if anyone hasn't been to the Aotearoa Reserve, going back to that other question about adventures that girls should go on, that is a beautiful slice of New Zealand. It's Aotearoa Conservation Area, also known as Ashburton Lakes, but that doesn't sound as nice. You got to go there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I was so grateful that that we picked that spot to go to. What a magic spot! And that we had a little semi-nudie swim, didn't we?
Oh, classic. That's how I roll, girlfriend.
we were out. We'd ridden down a little technical section, and we were coming back, and there was just this little flow of a stream, and it still had icicles hanging off the grass that was like dipping to the water. And the sun was on it. So we're like, that water is freaking cold. And then Jules goes, this is why we're friends. She goes, hey, there's like a plunge pool. Want to go for a dip? And I was like, yes. So I don't know if I've told this story through this interview series or not, but there's us. Like, we were like, fuck, if anyone came around the corner, there's us 2 girls, helmets still on from mountain biking, sunglasses on. We wanted to be a bit demure, so we left our sports bras on. But from there, we were like naked, waist down.
I don't want to be riding out with wet undies.
Exactly. And then there we are, like laughing so loud it must have echoed down the entire river. And then we're just like, okay, let's go. And then we're like, waist deep in this like icy cold water, and it's just hyperventilating because it was so cold. But fuck, man, we were laughing our asses off, and it's just like, that is what, like, for me, those are the moments of adventures that you're just like, I will tell that story so many times because it was just like, even now I can feel myself smiling and laughing like we were just in that moment.
So much fun.
So it was so funny. It was like, oh, well, I've seen your bum, you've seen mine, let's go. And we went. So it was so awesome. So you said some, like on your solo trip, some of the things that you've done, you wouldn't repeat again. So as you're going into your 40s, which are freaking amazing, looking back now, what's maybe one piece of advice you would give your 18-year-old self now that you've been through life a little bit more?
Don't drink as much. For a few reasons, like, don't get me wrong, but like when I was young and solo traveling and stuff like that, I was just like, didn't care, and I was drinking a lot. I could have probably drunk half as much and still had a great time and be twice as rich and probably had twice as many adventures because I wouldn't have been hungover. So yeah, that's the one piece of advice. Just like go a bit easier on the partying.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so what's one message that you have for adventure women out there who want to have more fun and adventure in their lives, but they're afraid of taking that next step?
Oh, okay. The one piece of advice is that you will judge yourself more than other people will judge you. And when someone asks you out on an adventure, just say yes, because they only ask you if they actually want you to come. You know, and people want you there more for you being you and for your company than how fast you are or if you're going to keep them up. And if you are a bit slower and people are waiting for you, don't say sorry. Say thank you. Thanks for waiting for me, guys. I'm having the best day. You know, because you're framing it in a way that's going to make you feel good and make your friends feel good and appreciated. Because if you say, oh, sorry, I'm so slow, you're waiting for me, I'm so sorry, I'm holding you up, and people are like, oh no, it's okay, it kind of is a bit downer on the conversation. But you know, you're out there to have a great time, so just say thanks for inviting me and thanks for waiting for me. This is freaking awesome.
That is such just fucking awesome advice. Absolutely. Thank you over sorry 100% of the time. Frames it up great for everyone. I fucking love that, Jules. Hey, if anyone wants to get a hold of you or come and see you in the store, if they come to Christchurch and they need some gears for their themselves or for their purchase, because you do lots of amazing gear, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you in Christchurch?
Well, you know, I'm all over the socials. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on the internet. I'm on email. But basically, Facebook and Instagram message, real easy, Further Faster NZ. Or the website, furtherfaster.co.nz.
Awesome. Jules, I've had such a blast. It's been really nice to relive some of our adventures. Again, I'm smiling because I'm just so excited. So we've got to plan the next one when I get back down there and we'll go hit some stuff up. And I really appreciate you being really vulnerable and sharing the challenge that you had with your bike accident. And it just gets any women out there who have got some stuff going on, whether it's a physical challenge that they're just going through currently, or even just a mental challenge. It just shows people that there's ways to move through that stuff, and that having that little bit of hope and that making a decision that it's not going to be that way for you. I fully 100% appreciate that, and I especially appreciate that as a friend as well. So thank you so much for being a part of the Why She Adventures conversation series.
Oh, thanks for having me, Senka.
Awesome. Have yourself a great day. And here's, of course, to getting more women out doing some cool shit, right?
Yeah.
Yay. Thanks, babe.